And so what transpired from there was that I plan on coming back to be the math specialist at the campus the next year. And then it was just an interesting chain of events that just kind of took place that led me down the path of ending up as a district curriculum specialist in Richardson ISD. The first thing is that they were adding a position on the campus to add a second assistant principal to the campus. It was going to be a part-time assistant principal. They were going to split time between our campus and another intermediate school. And so they asked me to be a part of the interview committee. And so when they asked me to be a part of the interview committee, I, of course, wanted to be a part of that because, I mean, I would love, at that point earlier that year, I began my master's. And so I was going to do my master's courses and everything to eventually, have the opportunity to be an administrator myself. So being able to be in an interview would be, it would be a good experience. And so I was able to be a part of the interview process. And as I'm sitting there, we were with these three candidates, and I'm sitting there just thinking, like, this is how I would answer that question. Here's how I would have answered the question, as we're going through the different questions. And so, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, like, man, if I had my stuff together and I was up to with them, I think I would have gotten this job. And then after they leave and we're deliberating about these three people that we just, came in contact with, the assistant principal says, they called me by my last name, Oliver, at the time, and they were like, man, Oliver, why don't you have your stuff together yet? And I'm thinking, okay, so y'all are thinking the same thing that I'm thinking. I would be the best person if that was possible. What was good about that experience was it kind of let me see what kind of, what you're up against. Like, I mean, they had kind of filtered down to these are the three candidates that we feel are our best options based on resumes and all those different things. And I'm like, okay, so if I ever find myself in this position to where I am going to interview against people, I shouldn't create this mythical person out there that is so much better than myself. Like, at the end of the day, everybody who comes in the room is going to be flawed. I know what all these people's flaws are because I'm hearing us discuss what their different flaws are. What I need to do is figure out what my flaws are and now be able to work on those flaws and be able to also be able to emphasize my strengths. Because what I felt that none of the candidates did was do a good job of emphasizing their strengths. Like, even when they were answering the questions, there's a way to answer a question that if it points out a weakness of yours, you can't emphasize a strength within doing that. And I think they failed to do a good job of doing that. So it was a good experience to do that. But when he made the statement about why don't you have your stuff together, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I got a shot. Because one thing that I did know that they used to do was when administrators, as long as you had at least 12 hours of your college work completed, for your grad courses completed, they could file to get you, like, I think it's like an emergency type of principal certificate, to where you could take a role, like an assistant principal role, if the district approves of you to do so, and even possibly a principal role, I think, and then you just have to pass your test in a certain amount of time. So, so I'm like, let me give it a shot. I even know that this district had done this in the past. And so let me give this a shot and see what happens. So I submitted an email to my principal with my resume, cover letter, letting her know that I would like to be considered for the position. We had a conversation about it. She, said, I'm gonna talk to my supervisor and see what I can do because I think you would be good for this position. And so I think if it was possible, she would have allowed it, but I think her supervisor completely shut it down. And so because of that, I didn't get it, and they went up with one of the candidates.